It was 3:07 a.m. The restaurant was dark, silent, empty, except for the sound of a knife. Thud, 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 cutting through raw meat like someone was fighting their own heartbeat. Chef Marcus, disguised in a janitor's uniform, froze in the hallway. He wasn't supposed to be here. No one was. But there she was, a young black cook, sweat dripping down her face, hands trembling, slicing through heavy slabs of meat with a speed that didn't match her exhaustion. She didn't notice him. Not yet. But when she finally looked up, her eyes weren't scared. They were hiding something. Something big. Something painful. And what Marcus discovered next would shake him to his core. Stay with me. This story will change you. Marcus Hale wasn't just any chef. He was a James Beard Award winner, the face of a high-end culinary empire, and a man who believed he knew everything about food and everyone who cooked it. But tonight, he wasn't Marcus Hale. He was James, the new overnight janitor he pretended to be so he could secretly investigate why his late-night food costs were rising. He expected to find laziness, maybe theft, maybe incompetence. He did not expect to find her. Tiana Brooks, 19 years old, a dishwasher by position, a line cook by skill, a fighter by circumstance. Everyone in the restaurant knew she worked harder than anyone else, but no one knew why she never went home, why she never smiled, why she looked like someone carrying the weight of an entire world. They only knew one thing. Tiana was poor, black, and quiet, and to some people that meant she was invisible. Not to Marcus. He saw the way the head chef, Chef Roland, a man who loved power more than food, would bark at her, call her kid, call her slow, even when she did everything right. He saw how the waitstaff ignored her, how managers walked past her like she didn't exist. But what Marcus didn't know was that Tiana was hiding something no one in that kitchen could imagine, a secret deeper than exhaustion, heavier than fear. And when he watched her cutting meat at 3 a.m., alone, shaking, exhausted, he realized she wasn't just working late, she was surviving. There was a reason she skipped college, a reason she worked 2 shifts and slept behind the walk-in freezer, a reason she never complained, never fought back, never asked for help. Marcus stood in that hallway, disguised and unnoticed, realizing this girl had a story, a powerful one. And he was about to step straight into it. The blade hit the cutting board with a rhythm that didn't match the clock on the wall. It wasn't the sound of cooking. It was the sound of someone fighting to stay awake, fighting to stay alive. Marcus stood behind a rack of metal trays, still in disguise. He watched Tiana slice through a heavy slab of beef with a precision he hadn't seen in years. Her hands moved fast, too fast for someone with no formal training. Practiced this 1,000 times. But her body told a different story. Her shoulders trembled. Her eyes kept closing for half-seconds too long. She swayed once, caught herself, and kept cutting. Marcus stepped a little closer, quiet, invisible. Then he saw something that stopped him, a small pocketbook tucked behind a bucket of cleaning rags. Not a wallet, a notebook. Its pages were filled with handwritten recipes, some crossed out, some rewritten, some marked with tears. And right on the open page, scholarship application, Culinary Institute of America. Dated 2 years ago. Marcus felt something in his chest tighten. She once dreamed of being like him. She once believed she could be a chef. Something had stopped her, and he was about to learn what. The kitchen door slammed open. Marcus jumped. Tiana didn't. Chef Roland stomped in, still in his expensive shoes, still wearing arrogance like a uniform. "What the hell are you doing here this late?" Roland barked. He didn't wait for an answer. "You're supposed to wash dishes, not touch my ingredients." Tiana froze. Her hands tightened around the knife, not in anger, in fear. I had to prep for morning service. The delivery was late," she whispered. Roland snatched the slab of beef off the board and threw it into the trash. "That's what incompetence looks like." He snarled loud enough for his ego to hear itself echo. Marcus felt his jaw clench. He nearly stepped forward, but he couldn't blow his cover. Not yet. Tiana bowed her head. "I'll redo it." "You'll redo it when I say so," Roland hissed. Then he leaned closer, his voice dropping into something darker. "People like you should be grateful you even get to stand in my kitchen." Marcus's fingers curled into fists. "People like you. People like you. People like you." It echoed in his mind like poison. Tiana said nothing, but Marcus saw it. A flash of shame, then a deeper flash of anger, buried so deeply she'd forgotten it existed. Over the next hour, Marcus followed her silently. He watched her scrub ovens, clean grease traps, prep vegetables, restock shelves, all while fighting off exhaustion that looked painful. Twice, she almost fell asleep standing. Twice, she caught herself at the last second. Marcus noticed something else, too. Every time Roland came near, she stiffened. Every time he yelled, she worked faster. Every time she messed up, even the smallest mistake, she apologized, like she was scared to breathe wrong. This wasn't a job. This was survival. At 4:20 a.m., Marcus saw her slip out the back door. He followed. Behind the building was a narrow alley, dimly lit by a flickering bulb. Tiana sat down on an old milk crate. She reached into her apron pocket and pulled out a small flip phone. Old. Cracked. She dialed a number. "Hey, baby," she whispered softly. A child's voice answered. Marcus froze. She wasn't talking to a sibling. Not a friend. Her son. "Did you sleep okay?" she murmured. "You hungry? Grandma giving you breakfast?" The little voice said something Marcus couldn't hear. But whatever it was, Tiana broke. Tears rolled down her face. She covered her mouth with her hand to quiet her sobs. "I'm trying, baby," she whispered. I'm really trying." Marcus stepped back into the shadows. This wasn't a girl who skipped college. This was a mother who gave up everything. Her dreams, her sleep, her youth. Also, her child could eat. When Tiana walked back inside, Roland was waiting. He glanced at her red eyes and snorted. "You been crying? Please. You think anyone here cares?" He shoved a stack of dirty trays at her chest. "Clean these before sunrise or don't come back." Something inside Marcus snapped. He ripped off his janitor jacket. He stepped out of the shadows. Roland turned and his face drained of color. Because standing in front of him was not a janitor. It was Chef Marcus Hale, the owner. The man Roland feared. Marcus's voice was low, controlled, cold. "Roland," he said, "I think it's time we had a conversation." And Tiana, for the first time that night, lifted her head. Her eyes widened. She had no idea. This was the moment her entire life was about to change. The moment Marcus stepped deeper into the kitchen, the hum of the refrigerator stopped. Like even the machines could feel the tension tightening the air. Talia froze. Her knife hovered mid-slice above a slab of brisket, her breathing sharp, her shoulders trembling just slightly. She didn't turn around. She didn't need to. She knew someone was watching. Marcus finally spoke, quiet, controlled, but firm. "Talia, why are you doing this alone?" Her knife clattered against the cutting board. She squeezed her eyes shut and whispered, "Please, don't fire me." Those 5 words cracked something inside him. He stepped forward, but before he could say another word, the back door burst open and Chef Reynolds, the man running the kitchen, while Marcus was under cover, stormed in. His face was red with anger. "There you are," he barked at Talia. "I told you to prep the prime cuts before dawn. Not at 3 in the damn morning." Marcus's jaw tightened. Talia bowed her head. I got here as fast as I could. My bus. I don't care about your bus." Reynolds snapped. "If you can't do this job, I'll get someone who can." He snatched the meat off the table and threw it into the bin. Talia gasped softly, not because of the ruined meat, but because she'd just lost an hour of unpaid labor. Marcus stepped between them. "That's enough," he said. Reynolds scoffed, stepping closer. "And who are you to tell me?" Marcus pulled off the cheap cap he'd been wearing all night. Reynolds stopped mid-sentence. The air froze. Standing in front of him was Marcus Hale, the new executive owner of the restaurant chain, the man Reynolds had been bragging about impressing for months. Talia staggered back in shock. What is this?" Reynolds stuttered. You've been pretending to be a night cook," Marcus didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. His presence filled the room. "I wanted to see what happens in my kitchens when I'm not around," he said. "And what I found is a man screaming at staff, and a young woman doing the work of 3 people. Reynolds swallowed hard. Marcus turned toward Talia. "Tell me the truth," he said softly. "Why are you cutting meat at 3 a.m.? Why are you hiding?" Talia hesitated. Her eyes shimmered. She tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "I didn't skip college because I was lazy," she whispered. "I skipped because—" She took a slow breath and the truth fell out like a wound opening. "Because my mom has late-stage kidney failure. I work 2 jobs. I come here at night because it's the only time the bus runs. I sleep 2 hours on good days. I'm saving every dollar for her treatment." Marcus's chest tightened. Reynolds blinked, confused, uncomfortable, exposed. Talia wiped her eyes, embarrassed. "I don't want pity. I just need this job. Please don't let him fire me. I can't afford to lose it." Silence. Then Marcus turned slowly toward Reynolds. "Is this how you treat someone who's carrying the weight of the world?" Reynolds stammered. "Sir, I didn't know." "That's the problem," Marcus cut in. "You never asked." He looked back at Talia. "Let me see your hands." Hesitantly, she lifted them. They were covered in fresh knife cuts, tiny burns, and old scars. "You've been doing the butcher's work. The line cook's work and the prep cook's work," Marcus said, alone, in silence. She lowered her eyes. Marcus exhaled slowly, then raised his voice so the entire kitchen staff could hear. "Everyone, listen carefully. Talia isn't just the hardest working person in this kitchen, she's the most skilled." Reynolds' head snapped up. "Skilled? She has no training." Marcus walked to the table, examining the meat Talia had cut earlier. Thin, perfect slices stacked with precision. "This is the work," he said, "of someone with natural talent. Someone who should have been in culinary school years ago." Talia's breath hitched. Marcus looked directly at her. "You didn't skip college," he said gently. "Life forced you to sacrifice it." Then his voice hardened. "But I'm done watching you sacrifice." He turned to Reynolds. "You're suspended. Effective immediately." Reynolds' face drained of color. "What? On what grounds?" "On the grounds," Marcus said, "that I own this place, and I don't tolerate bullies." He faced Talia again. Her tears were silent now, streaking down her cheeks. Marcus stepped closer. "Talia, if you'll let me, I want to sponsor you into culinary school. Full tuition, full support, no conditions, no debts." Talia's knees buckled. She grabbed the counter to keep herself from falling. "Why?" she whispered. "Why would you do that for me?" Marcus smiled softly. "Because I didn't walk into this kitchen tonight looking for a cook," he said. "I walked in and found a chef. And in that moment, under buzzing lights and the smell of raw meat, a future that once seemed impossible suddenly felt within reach." The room stayed frozen, breathless, speechless. Talia stood there, trembling. Her breath caught somewhere between disbelief and relief. For a long moment she didn't speak. She couldn't. Her mind, used to surviving, not receiving, struggled to process what was happening. Marcus saw that hesitation, that fear, that learned instinct to shrink. He stepped gently closer. "You don't owe me anything," he said, "but you deserve everything you've earned." Talia covered her mouth, her eyes wide. For the first time all night, she let herself cry without hiding it. No wiping quickly. No turning away. She cried like someone who had been holding her breath for years. A few of the early shift kitchen staff had wandered inside. Word had traveled fast. The owner was here. Something big had happened. But no one made a sound. They watched Talia, this quiet girl they barely noticed, standing at the center of a moment bigger than the kitchen itself. Marcus placed a hand on the metal table, steady, confident. "I'm setting up the paperwork in the morning," he said. "You'll work only the hours you choose. You'll train under my head chefs, and you'll attend culinary school with full sponsorship." Talia blinked, shaking her head in awe. "Sir, I don't know what to say." "Start," he said softly, "by calling me Marcus." A tiny, shaky laugh escaped her. The first laugh she had let out in months. But behind them, resentment twisted. Chef Reynolds stepped forward, voice cracking with desperation. "Sir, please, this isn't fair. You can't just ruin my career over one." Marcus turned his head slowly, his voice cold enough to freeze steel. "You ruined your own career." Reynolds swallowed. "I've given this place 10 years. And in those 10 years, Marcus cut in, how many Talias did you break? How many workers did you burn out? How many dreams did you crush because you never bothered to ask who they were?" Reynolds glanced around. Realizing the staff, people he used to intimidate, wouldn't even meet his eyes. That silence was its own verdict. "Security will escort you out," Marcus said. Reynolds opened his mouth to protest, but stopped when he saw the staff step forward, not to protect him, but to protect Talia. He left quietly. For the first time, he feared the very people he once lorded over. When the door shut behind him, the kitchen breathed again. Talia wiped her face, embarrassed by the attention. "I'm sorry," she murmured. "I didn't mean for all this to happen." Marcus shook his head. "Never apologize for being seen." Those words hit her harder than any insult she'd ever heard. Because they were words she never believed she'd deserve. He continued, "Your mother, I want to help her too." Talia froze. "My mom?" Marcus nodded. "I've worked with hospitals and relief programs for years. I'll make sure she gets the treatment she needs." Talia's legs buckled again, but this time she didn't hide her tears. "Marcus, I've never—" "You've always stood alone," he said. "Let someone stand with you for once." Her shoulders shook as she whispered, "Thank you. Thank you so much." Behind her, the staff stepped closer. Slowly, earnestly. Even the ones she thought never noticed her. A young dishwasher spoke first. "Talia, you trained me on my first day." "You didn't have to." Another cook nodded. "You covered my shift when my kid was sick." Someone else added, "You always worked harder than all of us. We just never said it." Talia looked at them, stunned. For the first time, she realized, she wasn't invisible. She was indispensable. Marcus watched her with quiet pride. "Greatness," he said, "doesn't always start in college classrooms. Sometimes it starts in silent kitchens at 3 a.m., with someone fighting a battle no one sees." He walked to the exit, but paused at the doorway. "Talia, your life changes today. Not because I walked in, but because you refused to break." Talia stood taller, not fully confident yet, but no longer shrinking. When Marcus finally left the kitchen, the staff gathered around her, not out of pity, but respect. She took a slow, deep breath. For the first time in years, the future didn't look like a tunnel. It looked like a door, finally open, a door she had earned. And as the sun rose outside the kitchen windows, washing the steel counters in soft gold, Talia whispered to herself, "This time, I won't walk through it alone." The impact of that night would echo for years. A bully lost his throne, a community found its courage, and a young black woman, exhausted, overlooked, underestimated, finally got to step into the life she deserved. Not as a cook in the shadows, but as a chef rising into her own light.